A warning tonight that some damage to U.S.-China ties is beyond repair. The message from Chinese state media comes as officials in Washington ramp up attacks on Beijing. In the past 48 hours, restrictions have been imposed on visitor visas for members of the Chinese Communist Party and their families. Plus, there's a ban on Xinjiang cotton imports. And major companies have been added to a blacklist of firms linked to the military. Adding to tensions, intelligence chief John Ratcliffe has told the Wall Street Journal China is the biggest threat to U.S. national security, democracy and freedom since World War II. The animosity has been reflected on Twitter. A U.S. Republican senator and Chinese state media journalists are trading insults. The comments have since gone viral. Well, Simon Marks is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Simon, we heard there a range of measures against China in recent days from the U.S. What could be behind those?
Well, as we've said on the programme before, Jill, it's absolutely apparent that the Trump administration is determined to keep pushing its hard line against China in order to try and constrain the ability of Joe Biden, the president-elect, to undo things, even if he wanted to, when he takes office on January the 20th. And he indicated earlier this week that he doesn't plan to undo anything. He wants to keep everything absolutely in place, he says, while he reaches out to the country's allies in a bid to build consensus over how to handle China going forward. But there's no question we've seen an additional chill in the relationship from the comments made in that editorial by the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, to the decision to add China's top chip maker and its oil giant to the State Department blacklist, accusing both of those companies of having ties to the Chinese military, to the ban on cotton from Xinjiang province, to the extraordinary Twitter row between Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, a Republican of Tennessee, and a Chinese state journalist based here in Washington, D.C., who hit back in very vigorous terms at claims that Marsha Blackburn was essentially making that were racist in nature about China. So this is an absolute hardening of attitudes, coarsening of the dialogue, certainly in that Twitter spat from Capitol Hill, and also an indication that the Trump administration truly wants to cement what it argues is the turning of the page in terms of the bilateral relationship with Washington and Beijing in a bid to tie Joe Biden's hands before he takes over.
Well, Simon, there are reports the U.S. is involved in talks to resolve charges against Huawei official Meng Wanzhou. Could that perhaps be an avenue where they could ease the current tensions?
Well, this is a very interesting development that's being reported here by the Wall Street Journal. It says that there has now been contact between the U.S. Justice Department and the finance chief of Huawei, who, of course, is in Vancouver fighting extradition to the United States, where she's wanted on fraud charges. And there's talks, according to the newspaper, of the possibility of something called a deferred prosecution agreement that would allow her to plead guilty to one of the charges, maybe more, that she faces, in exchange for deferring any other legal action against her. At that point, she would be allowed to return to China. So it seems to offer a potential way out of this standoff that has created tensions not just, again, between the United States and China, but also between China and Canada and the United States and Canada, because Canada finds itself absolutely caught in the crosshairs of all of this. We don't know to what extent these talks have been productive, but they certainly indicate that there might be an attempt to try and come up with some sort of solution to what has been a very thorny and knotty problem for at least three countries. And it could be that this deferred prosecution arrangement, which normally only applies to corporates, it doesn't usually get offered to individuals, this may offer some solution to that particular problem.